Oh, how fabulous. Hello and welcome to How Fabulous by Toni and Co. I'm Toni, and today in this episode I chat to a very fabulous lady, a very smart lady called Melissa Kirby. Now, I met Melissa through my husband. She is a very fabulous lawyer. And we go into what kind of law she practices. She has her own practice. She goes into what happened when Mensa came knocking at her door and asked her to be a member. So there's that. And how she got into doing the particular type of law in the particular industry, which is a really interesting, I think, industry for a woman to be in. She's obviously really smart, loves how stuff works, and she's a lovely person. She's, you know, this high, tiny little lady, but she's a nugget, and I really love her. She's a really beautiful, warm, and thoughtful person. So we go into that. Melissa Kirby. I hope you enjoy this episode. I loved catching up with her and finding out about the how, what's, and who's of her life. Welcome to How Fabulous by Toni and Co. I'm Toni, and today my fabulous guest is Melissa Kirby from Sharp and Able. Welcome.
Hi Toni, really great to be here. Thanks very much.
Well, look, I actually wish we were rolling before, because we went into this whole space of like why you started and what you do, but we will go in there now.
No trouble.
So, and we just have to talk over the rain that's coming in, because it's a beautiful rainy, cold, overcast day in Melbourne, of course, but by this afternoon it could be quite sunny. So there's that. I don't know. And then we've got our gas heater over there, which is making a slight buzz. So if that's what you can hear, that's what it is. It's pretty casual and laid back here at Toni and Co,
all
isn't
good.
it?
All good, Toni. All good. Yeah.
So Melissa, you and I met quite a few years ago.
That's right.
Because through my husband Phil and his business, you are a lawyer.
Yes.
Now that, to me, and I have a few friends that are lawyers, all doing very, very different law. What does Sharp and Able do? So what sort of lawyer are you?
So if you ask what a lawyer does, you ask 10 different lawyers, you'll get 10 different answers. For me, being a lawyer is about solving people's problems, often at the most difficult and trying times of their lives. In terms of the sort of law that I do, so I work with industrial companies, and industrial companies are companies that nobody really knows what they do.
No, and neither do I. My husband actually, that's what he does. So you can break it down for me, Melissa, and then I can go home and go, oh babe, so I hear that you do the blah, 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 blah. And he's been there for, nearly 20 years, and I still don't fully understand. Perhaps you can simplify it for me.
I don't think you need to simplify it. You just need to see it in a different way. So industrials are fantastic, and they touch every aspect of our lives. Next time you go on some public transport, or go into, say, a big shopping centre or a shed or any large building, there will be aspects in there which industrials make and do that keep you safe, keep you comfortable. So let's take resistors, which is from your husband's business, Fortress Resistors, great company, by the way. The resistors that they make sure that the electricity goes all the way from the power plant into your home or into your office safely, and nothing blows up, basically. So you don't know that it's there, and I don't know it's there, but if we didn't know it's there, if it wasn't there, we'd certainly know about it, because everything would blow up. So they're super, super important. So that's kind of the theme behind industrials. It's like the secret life of. And so if you go into, let's say, a big building, here in Australia, we're incredibly, incredibly lucky. because we have all of these things around us that we don't even know of that keep us safe. So for example, in Australia, like if you drive through a tunnel, okay? You drive through a tunnel, I bet you don't know, Toni, because like I didn't know this until a client told me, that every 120 meters, there is this metal door. And you might have seen it when you're driving through. That metal door is there to keep you safe. And basically, if, say, the car 3 in front of you breaks up in flames, you can actually get out of your car, open that door, and run through that door into safety.
I did not know that. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we know that.
Exactly, and the door is pretty special because it's actually got compressed air so that the smoke from any fire can't go in, and the air actually pushes out so that when you're in the tunnel, you're actually safe.
Amazing. You must have some absolutely amazing facts about safety,
Yeah.
but about across everything. So whereas, say, Phil has only got, you know, that kind of area
Yeah.
of amazing facts, you've got 20,000 different...
I am super, super lucky. Like our clients are amazing, and they build these companies that do these things that you and I would never otherwise think about.
Yeah, but so essential for us just to
Absolutely.
be getting around on our business, like going through the tunnel this morning.
Yes.
What was it? The Burnley? No, it wasn't the Burnley. The Mulla tunnel.
Yeah.
And I'm going to look at that now. That is going to be the thing
Exactly.
that I really look at. Look at
Exactly.
us competing for the rain. Can you hear that?
Yeah. It's like drums.
I know.
Actually.
I love it. It makes it really authentic.
Yeah.
Wow. And so do you call yourself then an industrial lawyer? Is that the correct term?
I guess so. I mean, there's no such thing because actually, as far as I know, we're certainly the first firm in Australia to specialise in the industrial area, if not the first firm in the world to specialise in this area. The thing is, 20 plus years ago, I won't say how many plus,
But you're only 30, so how does that work? So you were 10. You were 10 when you started.
flattery
Amazing.
gets you anywhere at this point, Toni, but like, you know, it's basically last century. I remember sitting in Manila, okay, and I was in Manila, and I was sitting there with two biologists, I think they were, or hydrologists, and they came all the way over from France.
And were you a lawyer at this time?
I was a lawyer at this time.
Okay, what's a lawyer? I'm going to make it up. What sort of lawyering were
Yeah.
you doing?
So the sort of lawyering I was doing was actually resolving a really big dispute, because back then the World Bank had actually funded to build this project in Manila to basically lay modern water and sewage. Okay, like you and I take it for granted.
20 years ago?
Yeah.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. Oh, it was longer than that. But you know, 20 odd years ago is when it all blew up. So, I mean, this project had been going for some time, but like, I think we do take it for granted that like living in somewhere like Australia, we're one of the very few countries on earth where you can turn on the tap, you can drink the water.
Yeah.
Okay, most places around the earth, they don't have that. And on top of that, they don't have sanitation. So it was a big thing that the World Bank and other organizations funded the building of this water and sewage plant and all of the pipes and everything that goes on with it. So towards the end of the 1990s, there was the Asian financial crisis that, you know, I don't know if you remember that. It probably didn't hit Australia as hard. But what happened is that a lot of the countries in Asia were really badly hit by this, and their currencies basically dropped through the floor. Okay, now why this was important was because all of the loans for building infrastructure like, you know, those water plants and everything was in US dollars. And so if your revenues from, you know, people paying their water bills and everything is in pesos or whatever, and that peso is worth buckleys all of a sudden, and you've got to pay your loan back in US dollars.
Big trouble.
Big trouble, exactly.
Melissa.
And so as a lawyer, my job was to go in there and actually help see if we could actually sort that all out. it was, I mean, this case went on for absolutely ages. I didn't finish it. It went on for generations of lawyers. But, you know, the time that I was there, I was spending a lot of time in Manila. And I remember sitting there with a couple of people who came over from France and who were specialists in this area. That they were scientists, and I didn't really know what they did. But when I was talking to them, it was really, really interesting. Basically, they're the people who figure out how to turn crappy water, like with all the crap in it, into clean water.
Yeah,
and
right.
I was like absolutely fascinated.
Yeah, it's an amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's so important. It is like water is life.
I mean, absolutely. And I mean, like I could go
Clean
on for
water is
water.
life.
Yeah, exactly. I could go on about water for a long time, but like, it was just so interesting to me. And then, so my whole career, I've been doing things to do with the industrial side of things, because it's kind of like that secret behind everything. It's like, okay, I get up in the morning and I turn on the tap. Huh, how did that get there? If you trace it all the way back, there's thousands of people involved in that, in bringing that water to your house. So, I mean, you know, I don't know if there's such a thing as an industrial lawyer. We're making it up, and we think there is, because we think that the industrial sector actually needs specialist lawyers, because their businesses are so complex. They're technically really, really complex, and the stakes of getting it wrong are so high.
Yeah, huge ramifications if you don't get it right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just think about it, like, say if you're a water plant, right, and you get a contractor in, and that contractor is in there to, like, I don't know, do maintenance. If they do it wrong, you and I could be poisoned.
That's right.
Right? So it's a really big deal. So, you know, the sort of things that like me and my team do is that...
So you wouldn't be the lawyer for the maintenance team coming in, you would be the lawyer for the water.
Well, either is fine, but like we would be helping like draft and maybe negotiate the contract between them to make sure that, okay, maintenance guys, let's say we're acting for the water company, right? Maintenance guys, hey, this is what you got to do, and if you get it wrong, what's going to happen? So that's basically what I do.
So it's not about, I guess what you're saying here is, for that particular example as well, is that it's not about punishing that person, it's you wanting to help them get it right.
Exactly.
So we don't have poisoned water, or the trains don't smash, or the tunnels don't blow up.
It's about preventing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is probably the area that we get involved in most in terms of types of transactions, right? We'll do quite a lot of that, which I would say is preventative work. Occasionally, though, things do go wrong, so we have to deal with the all shit hits the fan type of scenarios. So that's the other end of the spectrum, is like when things have gone wrong. Like we very much take a preventative approach, and so we hope to prevent things rather than have to clean up afterwards, because it's always a lot more expensive and it's a lot less pleasant, and a lot more people are hurt when you have to deal with things like the...
because it's not just people's feelings, or, you know, they're having an argument about a property or something like that. These are kind of, you know, these are big scale disasters that do affect a lot of people. Wow.
And so can affect a lot of people as well if you don't contain it properly. So, you know, it means that, like, you have to get your head around, okay, if something goes wrong here, right, what are the ramifications? You know, is it going to hurt is it going to just damage property, or is it going to be life that's going to be endangered? And so you've got to be able to think all of those things. In some ways, like, being a lawyer is like being the ultimate pessimist, because you've got to think, okay, what if this goes wrong, and what this goes wrong, and this goes wrong?
The ultimate pessimist.
It may also account for, like, the fact that, like, our profession has a ridiculously high level of depression and anxiety, which is a problem for our profession right now.
Really? Is it? I was so unaware of that.
Yeah, but I mean, I also tell, like, you know, new lawyers who are coming into it, I was like, yes, there are high levels of depression and anxiety, but if you think about it like a footy player, right? If you're playing footy at the top of your game, right, you're going to get injured. Okay?
Yep.
And it's not necessarily, like, obviously you want to do everything you can to prevent that injury, like train properly, eat properly, blah, blah, blah. But if you do get injured, it's not the end of life. It's about managing that.
I mean, I sort of feel like there's no industry that kind of doesn't have an element of stress at least. Even if you're working in an ice cream shop, there's people coming in. There's all there's every industry does. So so going back to this whole, so 20 years ago you're sitting there talking to these people, and then did it just kind of, when did you start your business then? Did it?
So I have had, Toni, I have had the most incredible luck, I will say, throughout my career.
It's probably just worked like crazy. Yeah.
So
I was so lucky. I just was incredibly bright, and you are. Just incredibly bright, and I just did that, and then things fell into place. Yeah. And I only worked like 9 to 5, 3 days a week. Is that how you did it?
Let's say I wish, but like, I guess like, no, really, I have been incredibly lucky. Yes, I have worked hard, but like, you can work hard and not be lucky. I just got lucky. I have been so lucky. I've worked at the world's best firms with the best people in the world. And I'm really proud of that, because like, I had an Australian and to some extent Hong Kong public school education. I went to the ANU, which was a fantastic university. I've got a good quality Australian degree, and I can tell you that like my colleagues have been from Oxford, Harvard, Yale, Stanford, you name it, and I've been able to hold my own, and I put that down to the fact that I've had a really good quality degree from a really great Australian university.
Wow, that's amazing.
So yeah, really lucky, and so like,
and hard work.
Lucky and hard work. You got to put in the hard yards.
What is it? How many years do you have to study to be a lawyer?
So it's going to take you a minimum of 5 years to be a lawyer, or 5.5, I should say, to become admitted as a lawyer. So the path is quite a long one, and then, to be honest, most lawyers aren't really good to any corporate clients before 5 years out, let's say.
Really? So there's 10 years? There's 10 years?
Yeah, there's 10 years easily. So that's 10 years of your life. And probably once you get to the 5-year mark, you're kind of useful to other people. But before that, you kind of don't know what you're doing, because as you said, Toni, like the businesses that we work with are complex. They're often very big. And most people like coming through, as a kid and as a teenager, will have never thought of this stuff before. I mean, why should they, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it like I say to young lawyers coming through, it's a bit like doing law school is like learning ABC, okay? Because law is like a completely foreign language. It's like learning ABC, and then when you come out, you can do A to Z, okay? And you might be able to write cat, and maybe able to spell elephant, right? But you can't write poetry straight away.
That's a wonderful way to look at it, to explain it.
And so that's why like it takes a good 5 years before you can write decent prose. But it takes a much longer time before you can write poetry, and so that's why you do need to take some time to get good at law
and learn how to photocopy and collate those documents like in suits. Because this is the thing, a lot of people think that so you're a lawyer, so you must either do family law or be in suits, like suits.
I wish.
And just be all gangbusters like those guys, and and then you've got a paralegal who's typing up all your stuff and doing all that. No, you do it yourself.
Well, we do have paralegals who are fantastic, and we currently have a couple of paralegals with us, and we couldn't do without them. They're really great. We generally do our own typing.
What? Fun fact. My first job, my first paying job out of school was at a law firm.
Oh, really?
I know. Can you believe it? Hilarious. As if I would be
What did you think about it, Toni?
I liked doing the rounds.
Yeah.
I was a rounds clerk, and
lovely.
I liked it because I got to get a toasted sandwich, get out of the office for an hour and a half, 2. This is, it was schooling years ago.
Yeah.
And then I just walk around the shops and go into the courts and just drop a document here and there. I didn't really know what I was doing. It was very much not me, let's just say.
Well, I think like most law firms are like, law's a very old profession, and so it's got very set ways of doing
they were
things.
pretty proper and doing stuff like that.
And everything's
made me learn pretty quickly. I think you would be a really fun boss, though. I might
I'm
reconsider.
not sure about that. I mean, you know, it does have a lot of formality, and obviously, you know, if you're going into court, right, you're not going to go in there chewing gum and like, you know, go, hey, dude, to the judge, right? You got to. It's like going into church. You got to pay some respect.
Yes.
And, you know, do the proper thing. But like in our office, right? I mean, I think. Okay, law has a lot of pomp and splendor and all of that, but how much of it actually helps us do good work for our clients? And anything that doesn't help us do good work, we ditch.
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, if you want to wear Ugg boots and pajamas in the office, cool. Go for it.
As long as you do the work.
Yeah, as long as you do good work.
And do you end up in a court often?
No.
I mean, is that part of it? Or
No.
you're at an office writing up the contracts and the information?
Most of the stuff I'll do will be in the office. It's actually funny that you ask about court, because like being in court at the moment means being on Zoom.
Really? That's strange.
So that's been like a really huge change for the whole profession, is not physically going into court, is having everything online. So it does change the dynamic somewhat. I don't do a lot of court work, but because you know the whole goal of what we aim to do is prevent clients from having to go to court. But you know, sometimes when clients are very successful, it's a numbers game. You know, and if you do that many and you're building a company that's worth like, you know, $50 million, probably one of your projects will go wrong. It's just numbers.
Wow.
So,
and so do you have a process? So so say you've got a new client coming on board and they make something that you've never heard of before, or even if you have, do you have to, like, part of knowing how to prevent that from going wrong, you would have to 150% know exactly the ins and outs of what they do. How much can your brain retain? My goodness. I can't remember what happens yesterday. So if it's not immediate in my brain, like, it's just, you know, it's interesting how our brains work very, very, very differently. I just I couldn't get my head around something like that. It would just be not me. How do you do it? What do you do?
I think, Toni, you're underselling yourself, but it's what you're curious about. So you're good with people and remembering details about people, right? I'm good at remembering things about people's business and their products, for example, or their service. So it's just like poking around.
Love it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I love it, because love's a very strong word, but I'm really curious about it.
Yeah, you want to know more.
And I want to know how this thing works and what it does and why it exists, and like, how do they make a business out of it, and who are their clients and who are their suppliers. So I get curious. I actually really like going into a client's either factory or office, or, you know, wherever they're doing their stuff, right? And just going and having a look and chatting to people, and you get a contextual picture of what really happens.
And
so
would it be true to say that maybe a lot of your clients, it's a male kind of
Very
dominated industry?
Very much
So
a
there's
male
Melissa
dominated industry. Yeah, I'm
coming
5'1".
5'1", pocket rocket, probably a member of Mensa, no doubt. Are you?
No.
But are you?
Well, I got invited, but like I said, anyway.
I love it. Okay, so
Anyone
I got
who's
invited, but
going to pay the amount to get your IQ test can't be that smart. Sorry, Mensa, but like, that was what I thought at the time. So.
Oh my goodness, I love that you rejected that.
I've been really broke in my life, and it's like, do I really want to spend that money?
What is it? How much is it? Is it like...
I can't remember.
Just
it was
a lot.
ages ago, but like, I was thinking like, surely if you want me to pay that amount of money to get my IQ test to join your club, it's like, that ain't that smart.
Make your own cover.
Exactly.
Make it up, make your own one.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm not a really huge joiner, so I'm pretty independent and like it that way.
Yeah. So when, after you rejected Mensa, then so we're back to this male-dominated industry.
Sorry. Yeah.
And And so you turn up,
Yeah.
huge, amazing, you know, smart beyond belief lady who is literally 5'1", 1 to
Yes,
2, 1 to 2.
5'1". I'm happy with it.
I love it. And she turns up and she goes, right, show me everything. Tell me how it is. Do you get spoken to sometimes a little bit like, I have to dumb it down for her because they won't know you? I mean, this would be the first time they chat to you.
This is fantastic. I mean, this is the part I really like. I mean, and this goes to my sense of, I always like a little bit of sense of subversion. Nothing like, you know, playing around with the rules a little bit. So I remember going into one company, and I'll just give you this example because like what you're asking about, I think it comes across really nicely in this example. I came into this company, and this company had never had a lawyer in their Melbourne office, just fine. So they kind of didn't know what to do with me. And like, I'm Asian, I'm 5'1", I'm like, what do we do with this lawyer chick, okay? So they put me in a corner somewhere. And then I remember the general manager saying, okay, we're gonna have a teleconference with Sydney, so can everybody come into my office and like, we'll huddle around the phone and, you know, have this teleconference. This was before Zoom and Microsoft Teams and everything. So we go into his office, right? And he's got this phone, you know, with all the buttons there. And he looks at me and he says, oh, Melissa, I don't know how to work the telephone. You're really smart, so I'm sure you could do it.
Rude. Wow.
So
what did you say? I wish I could have been a fly on the wall that day.
So I said to him, I stopped for a moment because I knew what that meant. Like, you know, women do all the administrative and crappy work, right? So I said to him, yes, I do know how to use it, but you better watch carefully because I only teach once.
Sick burn. I love it. I love that you said that.
So I guess, you know, yes, it is a male-dominated industry, right? But I think smart women can use the fact that they're different to excel and, you know, really do well in these industries. Yes, you do have to have a thick skin, but I think in some ways it's helpful because, look, in the industrial space, everybody's Andrew, Bob, Dave, Phil, whatever, right? Nobody forgets me. I'm the only chick.
Yeah. And we can't forget
so
you. You're like,
good.
5'1", little Asian lady.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not going to forget who I am. They might think, oh, you know, that guy Dave or Bob or whatever, but they don't forget me. So as long as what I say, like, and what I do is effective, right? They'll remember.
Yeah. And I guess the work, you do the work. The work speaks for itself. You're very, very, very good at what you do. And if you weren't, that would mean nothing. Wow.
Absolutely. So I think, you know, the whole thing about being in a male-dominated industry, right? I think it only becomes an issue. Look, I can't say it only becomes an issue. It is an issue, but if you know your crap and if you know what you're doing, you back yourself, right? You can do well and use the fact that you're different.
Yeah, true.
You know, it's a two-sided sword.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I guess that's the thing, knowing that you are good at what you do.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what you look like or what gender you are. And that's the underscore thing. Yeah. You know.
It means it's tougher, particularly at the beginning, because you know, yes, have I been taken as a secretary? Sure. Have I been asked to type up a male partner's dictaphone tapes? Yes. Have I been asked to, like, you know, do the formatting on a document? Sure. But you know what? I can do all of that and do your job as well.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Goosebumps. Yes.
You know, you just got to be, I think the thing for a lot of women and a lot of people from minority groups is like, yes, the world is unfair. I get it. It should be fairer. And we know that. But in the meantime, right, do you have to be 2 or 3 times better than everyone? Yes. But at the end of the day, right, you're the one who benefits because you're the one who's better.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying it's fair because it isn't fair. But like, if you put in the hard yards and if you're really damn good at what you do, right, the person who benefits is you.
That's right. That's exactly right. No matter
Shit
what you're
hard,
doing.
But
yeah, it is real hard.
You know, that's what it is.
I would imagine that you'd be a fantastic mentor to have.
I'm not so sure about that, but like I am very lucky that like I have a couple of like, I don't know if they're mentees, just friends who are younger than me. And like I had a mentor before mentoring became a thing.
I think it's an important thing to do. I'm not sure. I think I had sort of over the years lots of people I looked up to, you know, and asked questions of. But I think it is a really, you know, especially when you're younger, getting into any industry, you're like, what's going on? Who do I trust to talk about stuff?
Exactly.
You know, who knows the business? Who is going to take me under their wing and help me with all the craziness that can happen? You know?
In some ways, like, I think we all need that. Somebody who we can trust.
And also just in life, really, I think. You know?
It's like, what does this mean? And at different stages of your life, you've got different questions.
Well, we were saying before this camera started rolling that, you know, you're at an age where you care less about what other people think.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, I'm kind of a few years older than you, and definitely I feel the same way. And that's been sort of not so much a theme, but something we've talked about with a lot of the guests on here is that, you know, becoming older, not only is it a privilege, it really is, but you're more inclined to be okay with saying no to people, and backing yourself more, and just going, well, if you don't understand me or what I do, that's okay. It's okay as well, you know, because we can still be in the space and still be okay. So I'm really curious, and I didn't ask this before. So when you're a little one, did you want to study law? Like, were you forced? Were you? Did you have older siblings? Did they go, you must be a blah 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 blah? Like, how did it all come to light?
Oh, okay. So I originally wanted to be a ballet choreographer.
What? That's going in your bio. I love it.
Yeah. So a ballet choreographer, not a dancer, but a choreographer.
Okay. So interesting.
And because I did ballet from, you know, everybody does ballet at age 5 because you get pretty dresses and things like that.
I didn't.
It's cool.
Really? I think I always had a really, what's the word? Maybe sheltered upbringing. Yeah. I just wasn't, Anyway, sorry.
If you grow up in the burbs, excuse me, if you grow up in the burbs like I did, I grew up in the western suburbs of New South Wales. It was pretty rough, and like every little girl does ballet or some variant of it where you get to dress up and, you know, have fun sparkly stuff, right? Yeah. The difference being that I continued and I kept going until I was probably about 17 or 18. But then I found that, like, unfortunately, like ballet, like a lot of sports and stuff, like if you don't grow the right shape, you just can't do it. It's, you know, you can't play basketball if you're 5'1", sort of, or not professionally. Yeah. So certain things didn't happen. So I thought I'd go into, you know, drama or movies or something instead. But that didn't happen for various reasons. My mother wasn't too happy about that, but that's okay.
What about not getting into acting?
Oh no, I got in. I got all the offers and everything, but like I think like many Asian parents, like the idea of going into the performing arts is like, no.
That's a hobby. That's not a real job.
Exactly. Like you're not going to make a living out of that, etc., etc. So I did law for very spurious reasons, because I didn't do very well in maths and wasn't very good at maths, and still am not very good at maths. So for my high school certificate, I didn't do maths. I did biology. I can cut things apart and tear them apart and stuff. So I kind of looked at my grades and thought, okay, I can't go into medicine. I can't go into economics because I don't have maths. So really, law was a product of two things. One is that was probably the best thing I could do with my grades, and the other thing was I was sitting in the canteen with another guy having a beer, and he said, I'm doing law, and I thought that sounds like a good thing.
The guy guy, do you ever talk to that guy? Because he's like shaped her whole future.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's totally spurious. Like, I went into law and then sort of stuck at it because that's what I trained for, and then just kept going.
And then developed your interest in it.
Yeah. It's not like I set out to be a lawyer. I did not set out to be a lawyer at all. Yeah. It just kind of happened, and then I found that I was reasonably good at it. Well, people keep paying me anyway, so I'm reasonably good at it, and then I found out that I actually like it. So it certainly wasn't the other way around.
And if you, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
We'll finish off with this question. If you weren't doing law, what would you be doing?
Tough question. I probably would be
back into ballet choreographing, or
I probably would be something in performing arts, like either choreography or directing or something along those lines.
I can imagine you directing. I can imagine you bossing people around.
I'm good at bossing people around.
And directing people. But doing some sort of, like you'd be the director of a festival or something like that. That's what I can imagine you doing.
I could certainly do something like that. I think that in the end, Toni, like when you say what else I would be doing, in the end, I found that no matter what you do, if you do it well, it all comes back to the same thing. So if you're really, really good at maths, like I have a guy who works with us and he's a mathematician. What he does is incredible, right? But like, you know, I also have a friend who's a mom, and what she does is incredible. And so no matter what you do, if it's incredible, it all comes back to the same spot.
Yeah, I like the way you said that.
Yeah, and it is about being incredible, it's about being fantastic, it's about being fabulous. And so it kind of doesn't matter what it is that you do, as long as you do it really exceptionally done well.
With your heart and your head.
Exactly.
And
you've got to be there, you've got to own it.
Yeah.
So I think it all comes back to the same place. That's what I figured at this stage of life. So yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story.
No, it's really my pleasure, Toni. It really is. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm just thinking about all these other questions maybe I could have asked you, but maybe come in again for another episode.
Well, I'll be very interested to see, because like I can just see your podcast and your YouTube channel really taking off. So it's
we'll
like,
see.
you know, all of these undiscovered people and things and stories.
But like you just said then, you know, if you're doing what you love doing, and you're doing it with your head and your heart, and you're moving it forward, then that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah, it is.
So there's that.
Yeah.
I love that little gem. Thank you so much.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Melissa.
Thank you.